With any TV show, there is usually a repeated structure. It has a story that has been written out and edited, then the show is filmed or animated, edited even more, then released for the public to enjoy. So what if there was something that could be just as successful as any quality show, but also be so far away from one in traditional measures? Well, meet Dimension 20, a show streaming on Dropout TV, the newer cousin of the old media company College Humor. D20 is one of many shows on the platform and has about 21 seasons, most in completely separate universes. Some seasons have a total of 7 hours of episodes, and others have over 56. Why so varied? Well, Dimension 20 is a show where a bunch of professional improv comedians and actors play Dungeons and Dragons, or better known as D&D, that game you've seen from that one show or that group of nerdy kids in high school. Because I don't want to be here for hours, I'll just say that D&D is a tabletop role-playing game where you can develop and play as a character and, with a group of friends called a party, do whatever you want to do. The most common activity being adventures that involve monster combat, but the options are endless. During these adventures, you roll a series of dice that determines how successful you are at what you do, whether it's to strike an enemy, run for student government, impress other NPCs or non-player characters.
Add your ass to the list.
And the whole game is run by someone called a DM, or a dungeon master, or game master, who directs the table and acts out all the other characters that the players interact with.
You wouldn't say!
While the whole game is run with your imagination, some campaigns use mini or maxi figures to map out character interactions. So naturally, D&D is riddled with stories, which can range from dumb bits to make your friends laugh to complex, more serious tales. A great example of a balance of the two is the series that is closest to my heart and the very first season of D20, Fantasy High.
Here we go.
Running at about 118 hours, not even including all behind the scenes, live in-person showings, and spin-off content, the main Fantasy High series, which includes 3 seasons, is a show set in a 1980s suburban America and features pretty normal high schoolers. But with magic and death and dragons and pentacorns and a pirate called Chungle Down Bim, who...
Chungle Down Bim probably saved you.
We should go to Chungle Down Bim.
How did he
Chungle
help
Down
you in the
Bim.
fight? How did he help you? I've got a phone book here. I'm looking for Chungle Down Bim. He's on the line.
He told me he was gonna shit my mouth.
Like,
He told me he was gonna shit my mouth. He was gonna shit my mouth, and then I would never be a real pirate, and then I...
So anyway, meet the bad kids. There's Lou Wilson as Fabian, Zach Oyama as Gorgug, Emily Oxford as Fig, Brian Murphy as Riz, Siobhan Thompson as Adine, and Allie Beardsley as Kristen. And leading the whole group and the founder of the whole show itself, there's the one and only Brennan Lee Mulligan, the DM who directs the whole game.
Say hi, intrepid heroes.
Hi, intrepid hero! Box out, box out.
Because of its 118 hours of gameplay, I will be zooming in to talk about one episode of the 3rd and current season, Fantasy High Junior Year, called Baron's Game. Spoilers for all Fantasy High, of course. So, buckle up. Fig has cursed armor that she took from her dad Galir to save his life. In the previous episode, Adine breaks Fig's curse in order to save her. It shatters into 6 pieces, and they all jump into a pocket dimension in a magic briefcase. They arrive in the dreamlike realm and are met with Baron, a skeletal goblin bad guy who threatens to kill them.
You see that a clock in the corner reads 11:45.
A clock chimes 11:45, and the players realize that they need to quietly sneak around the house and collect all 6 pieces of the broken curse, which, when joined together, will transport them out of the dimension and back to their families, before the clock strikes midnight. Every round, the DM rolls a 4-sided die, or a d4, to see how much time has passed. Time works very differently in D&D, which determines the urgency of the game. So the characters proceed to sneak around and uncover each token and, of course, run into various bad guys. Amongst all of this, the DM passes out some mysterious cards to each player. Eventually, the bad kids split up. Fabian and Adine enter a room together when suddenly...
Is this Kristen's room?
No, this is my room.
Odd. Well, then we should head out. This is not where we're supposed to be.
Can I do a perception check?
You have been a bad friend to Riz Guckak, Adine.
Wait, what?
Oh my God! He's possessed. He failed his check before, but we didn't know.
So it turns out that the cards instructed players to roll some dice, and if they failed, their characters are secretly possessed by Baron, and the players have to turn on their friends. This also happens again later with Shaban as Adine. After some good and some terrible rolls, and a few hilarious moments, the heroes join all pieces of the curse, and the suspenseful ending approaches.
As you begin running, I'm gonna need one last D4 roll for time. If it's a 1, you make it there scot-free. If it's a 1, we're done right now. Otherwise, the clock strikes midnight.
You know Murph's got that one in it.
Box of Doom.
Murph's always got that one.
He's got that one.
You got that one.
He's got that one. He's got that one in him. He's got that one in him.
So despite the odds, the bad kids make it out just in time, which was honestly a bit disappointing. Anyways, the kids harness all the curse's power, but the episode ends before you find out what they do with it. Now, you might be asking, rewind a bit. Did you say you were disappointed that your beloved characters succeeded? Well, yes. So the plot of the game in D&D is 50% determined by the players and DM, and 50% up to luck, aka the dice, or in this episode, the cards and the dice. This allows the game to be unpredictable.
I got a 1 and a 2.
19, which is also a crit.
Oh my!
God
Is that
18 plus 20 becomes a 38.
That's another nat 1.
incredible!
However, with the dice rolls, even if you technically lose, you don't. And I argue that is what makes D20 work. No matter what happens, it's never a loss because, although there's a lot of strategy, the game is for fun.
I can't believe what you've been through. Come here.
Oh no.
And I do a slow dance.
Fig
on
turns
it.
Hell, Fabian failed his role and almost murdered his friend, but it made for such a shocking and hilarious moment. This is where I argue that having the dice go wrong is actually where the fun of the game comes out. For instance, at the end of Baron's game, they needed to roll exactly a 1, which they did, and it was amazing, but if they rolled something else, we could have got to see the whole other set and fully formed bad guy, and more importantly, we would have seen them defeat it. But you might be saying, well, yeah, that's what everyone wants in their games and stories. Struggle, but then success. Even then, with D&D, you don't always want a happy ending either. For example, in a campaign I was in, my friend signed a contract, giving his soul away to try and steal a demon in his body to get access to its power, something that the DM was not expecting. At the very end of the campaign, the demon took over and the character just died. That was it. But although ending in death, the decision added a lot of humor and unpredictability, which was fun to play with. Just like how fun it was to see Fabian almost kill his friend. D&D revolutionizes gaming because sometimes you want to lose. In Minecraft, for example, if you die and lose all your stuff, it's frustrating, not fun. So why does D&D have this power? Because it revolutionizes story. And this opens up a lot more opportunities, like ignoring rules that would normally apply to other forms of game. D20 specifically revolutionizes story through its creation, which is unlike any other narrative medium.
So there's elements of Spire now where the amount of improv that has occurred within it has created a world where you're like, okay, I see that that's John Hughes and I see that's D&D. What's this? And you go, we microwaved it too many times. So those are actually kind of my favorite bits of Spire now, is the parts where it's like, that can only be explained through a mid-2000s cultural reference made by Allie Beardsley, followed by a nat 20 that forced me to make it real. So other than that, I can't tell you.
The closest thing to traditional narration is the DM. They administer the structure of the story. They contain the twists, the bad guys, the surprises, the preferable endings, and the settings/story world, and can nudge players in a certain narrative direction. However, other shows would solidify those aspects and stop, but D20 takes it further. For example, remember Galir, Fig's dad? He was just a normal-looking guy in Season 1, but soon became a party favorite after Emily found him to be particularly hilarious.
He's got like what look like beans or something on his shirt. You see,
He then became a big character throughout all seasons, and in the episode Baron's Game, what is now known as Galir's Curse is a major subplot point. So yes, the DM leads the story.
Zara stands up. Obey me.
Yeah, okay.
And she's gonna cast Dominate Person.
But ultimately, the players lead the DM.
And then I have mindless rage, so I can't be charmed or frightened while raging.
Whoa! Got him, dog. Got him.
In D&D, there is no last page that has already been typed out. There is no final scene that has already been edited 1,000 times. With D20, you are watching a story being written, instead of watching something someone already wrote. And that story is written by real-life people, but also by luck, which leads to moments like the setup for the episode of Baron's Game in the first place.
How did you think it was going to go down versus how it went down?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
it went down in a crazy...
Yes.
It ended in us jumping into a portal and flying into Fig's room.
I had 4 different ways for you guys all to get to this encounter, none of which were in the stone circle with the briefcase.
Wow.
But you get a nat 20, and I'm like, oh shit, this scene is pretty similar to a scene I thought was going to happen later in the season. The name could just be right here.
Also, Fantasy High's setup mimics a normal D&D campaign, because that's what it is, which forces audiences into the mindset of a real-life setting. Yes, freshman and junior year are filmed and edited down to save time, but sophomore year was entirely live-streamed. This live, in-time play changes audience engagement. Unlike watching a scripted show, you aren't going to focus on whether someone uses the perfect tone or delivers their lines seamlessly. If there are any awkward moments in Fantasy High, you don't get stuck on them, because, well, it's just people playing a game. Overall, D20 revolutionizes gameplay by revolutionizing storytelling, and they do that by making the story readers, the players, simultaneously the story makers. And from my end, that completely transforms the viewing experience. I've probably watched more D20 than any other show I've seen combined. They have to be doing something right. So D20 is a show based on a game, and by combining the two, it's able to break boundaries of what is expected from either piece of media. But most importantly, Fantasy High wasn't created because some already rich people wanted to make a ton of money. Brennan Lee Mulligan created it because he's a huge nerd with so much adoration for this game and his friends, and my point is that when you do something out of love and passion for your own enjoyment and that of others, you can transcend age-old gaming and narrative rules. As a D&D player myself, I can say there is a huge difference in the narrative that I make between me sitting down in my room and writing a short story and me improvising in front of my friends. You get out of your head and make narrative choices based on the energy of the people surrounding you, not what you think will be the energy of the people watching in the future. It's so fulfilling, and Fantasy High is a perfect example of this. The players laugh and tease each other and have fun, all while sticking to pretty consistent characters. And although I'm not necessarily playing along while watching, I kind of feel like I am. D20 is narratively magical, and it all started with Fantasy High.
And in some ways, I look around and I go, like, how can this be my life? How can this be my life? No one should be this lucky. But then the things that stay the same are, I still sit down at a computer and I go, what is going to make Zach and Emily and Murph and Allie and Siobhan and Lou happy? What's a thing that will make them laugh or make them gasp or make them enraged or make them horrified, and just getting back to that place where it's the only thing I've ever wanted to do, which is tell a story that my friends get to the end of it and go, that